Hi friends, welcome back. Today we're making a mystery formula. It's from a patent from Firmenich back in 2011. I have no idea what this is. If we look at the breakdown of the fragrance, it is constructed nicely, just on the surface. 60% base, roughly 20% in mid, and 15 to 20% in top notes. So far, so good. A good structure. If I look at the fingerprint, as Formulaire calls it, also a very nice blend. Lots of woody notes, some sweet notes, musks. Then we have a lot of citrus, some white florals. This is mainly lilial and hedione. Some ambroxan and amber materials. It's just a good mix. In the patent, this is listed as an eau de cologne for men. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to make 100 milliliters of this. I'm going to make about 80 grams. It's going to be 76 grams. The end dilution will be about 10%. And I'm going to give some of this away. I'm going to split this into two 50 milliliter bottles, one for me, one for you. And this will be my first giveaway. All you got to do is just make a comment in the video, and after about a week or so, I'll do a random selection and reach out to you and send you a bottle. So that should be fun. I'm looking forward to this. I'd like to get started. Now, first, I'm using a mix of neat materials at 50% dilution, 10% dilution, and some at 1% dilution. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add ethanol. We're going to start off with 45 grams of ethanol. This ethanol is pre-treated with BHT. So we're getting some antioxidants in there. We're going to get close to 45. Overdid it, which is okay. This is a clean beaker. I'll just put some back. Just gonna put some back. Nothing wrong with making a little mistake on this first pour, because you can always put it back. All right, we need 45.1 grams of ethanol. Now, some will evaporate as we're going along, but it's all within a reasonable and acceptable margin of error. First thing we're going to do is we are going to start with woods. We're going to break this out into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 groups. 8 smelling groups. The first is going to be our woods and sweet notes, like the vanilla, the coumarin, etc. But let's start with ISO E Super. This is neat, and we are going to start at 1.2 grams, which is a good start. I'm going to need a lot more. Going to need a lot more. Okay. Almost there. Perfect. Got it. Got it. Got it. Ooh, we're going to need a lot of vanillin. I hope I have enough vanillin. I think so. Okay. ISO E Super to the side. Next up, let's do our vetiveryl acetate. There's a fair bit of vetiveryl acetate. This is, first of all, salicylate heavy. Yeah, I want to make sure I have my dilutions right for salicylates. It's salicylate heavy. There's a fair bit of ISO E Super and dihydromercenol. There's a lot of bergamot. There's a lot of lilial. But as far as the wood notes are concerned, the woody notes, there's a lot of vetiveryl acetate. So let's get it in here. What I like about vetiveryl acetate is that it shares the spirit of vetiver, but in a weird way, it's more Cologne. Yes, Cologne. cologne-ish, cologne-like. Something about it just screeches that this belongs in a cologne. Not a fragrance, mind you. A cologne, whatever that means. Every time I use this, and I've overdosed this on accident, it doesn't really seem to harm the creation. Not to say that it can't if you've got, if you have a certain formula you're working with. But so far, I've just had some good wiggle room with vetiveryl acetate. Next, let's do our Gaiac wood. Now this Gaiac wood, also at 10%. I need 0.4 grams. This wood it's woody, but it's a transparent wood. As odd as that might sound, it has a transparency to it, and it also has a smokiness, a very enjoyable smokiness. Okay. Next, let's move on to our vanillin. Vanillin at 10%. There's a good amount of vanillin here. 4.4% of the concentrate is in vanillin. How much do I need? 3.2 grams. So this is a few pipettes. Come on. Good, good, good. Got it. Okay. Next, coumarin. Now this is a fresh batch. I had ran out, but this is a fresh dilution. Okay. How much do we need? 1.2 grams at 10%. Oh, it looks like it wasn't fully. Oh, bummer. That's okay. That's okay. Oh, again, I love coumarin. It's sweet, but there's a brightness to it. I like to highlight the brightness. It adds a little liveliness to the vanillin or ethyl vanillin. We have a few more. Let's keep with the more sweet notes. Gamma decalactone. If you don't have gamma decalactone, use gamma undecalactone or aldehyde C14, peach aldehyde so-called. Gamma decalactone, this one is a little bit fruitier, a little bit brighter, where the aldehyde C14 is a bit more lactonic. Again, to my nose. It may be a bit different for you, but that's the association that I make. Okay, let's do two more. We're going to add our sandalwood materials. We have two of them, ebenol and polysantol. Let's add our polysantol. Ooh, both of these are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. If you don't want to splurge on actual sandalwood, don't even worry. Not for 1 minute. Pick up some polysantol, some ebenol, some bactinol. You'll be just fine. This stuff smells great. It's sandalwoody, but it's more pronounced. It's a little brighter. It's a little more forward. And last up, ebenol. 1/2 gram at 10%. Ebenol is a touch more caramelic than polysantol. Just a bit darker, you could say. All right, let's get our 1/2 gram here. Good. Wonderful. I'm going to use this pipette to stir, to mix, and then this is just going to be our mixing pipette. I'm going to leave it in there. That way I'm not wasting 1.7 pennies every time I need to blend. Now this will be a little diluted. We added all that ethanol, and even though we added IsoE Super, it wasn't much. We are probably looking at a like a 5% dilution here, 3% dilution. Where's my pen? Okay, we're going to start this with, this is just woods and vanilla, and this is 1. Very exciting, and so it begins. Now next up, we are going to add the musks. And I want to add the musks because after that we're adding the amber notes. But in this case, I want to know how the amber notes affect the musks because there's more musk than there is amber. And this includes animalic notes. We have muscanone, indolcolor, isobutylquinoline, which is a kind of a weird one. We've also got cashmerein, which you could call it a musk, but it's also like a bright amber. So it's a good mix we've got going on. But let's start with our helvetolide. We're doing helvetolide at 10%. We have a full gram here. Helvetolide is kind of this wonderful men's cologne musk. Again, I use that word, a cologne. Just a popular musk for men's colognes. Still getting used to what this smells like, helvetolide, compared to galaxolide, exaltolide, ethylene brassylate, ambretolide, so on and so forth. It definitely, helvetolide is a touch fruitier, a little bit, is green the right word? Still working on my vocabulary with these musks. Next up, habanolide. We're using this neat 1/2 gram, almost 7% of the concentrate is in habanolide. Okay, don't need to get crazy with the pipette here. Some people liken the smell of habanolide to a hot iron on laundry. Perhaps because habanolide is used often in laundry detergents. It's a very clean smell. Very, oh, missed the discard pile. Oh well. Okay. Let's go on to muscanone. Okay, a little more animalic, muscanone. And by a little more, I mean it's meaningfully more animalic. Yeah. Definitely has a wet fur-like smell. 1 gram at 10%. We need one more, ooh, just a couple more drops. Here we go. Fair enough. We got it. Okay, let's do the indolcolor. I hope I'm saying that correctly. This is a lot like indole. It's a bit more floral, but yeah, floral's the right word. But it's just a lot like indole. This is also known as phenylvinyl acetate, by the way. This is at 1%. It's already throwing. It's popping out of this bottle. I need 0.6 grams at 1%. Oh. Okay. Overdid it by about 10%, but again, that's okay. A 10% overdose doesn't mean it's going to smell 10% stronger, oddly enough. We've got 2 more. Let's do our cashmerein. At 10%, I've got 0.7 grams. This is brighter, fruitier. It still has a musky nature to it, but it's more metallic, and it can smell a little funny on your skin alone. At least on mine. I feel like it's hit or miss. Kind of depends on what's going on with my body chemistry. Like what I've eaten over the last week will affect how I interpret this smell on my skin. But it's great if you need to add a little edge, metallic, musky punch to the front of your fragrance. Cashmere is a great way to go. Next up, Pyrrolone or isobutylquinoline. This is also at 1%. 0.6 grams. Now, what I love about Pyrrolone, you can add a lot of it and get a leather note. You can add a little bit of it and it gives you this green, dry sheen. It can add an interesting effect to an eau de cologne in small amounts. Okay, let's do a quick mix because we're on to dip time. It's about dip time. All right. Let's dip. Then I will write. This is number 2, and these are our musks. Wonderful. Set it to the side, and let's keep going. So next up, we're going to add our amber notes, and there's one substitution. In the patent, it calls for 8, 13, 13, 20 diepoxy 15, 16, dinorlabdane. No idea what that is. I can't even find a CAS for it. However, if I Google this, some stuff on Leffingwell pops up, and it shows me the atomic structure, or the molecular structure. And it shares similarities with Amber Extreme and Ambroxan. There's already Ambroxan in this formula, so I decided to swap it out for Amber Extreme. So let's start with that. I'm using Amber Extreme at 1%. I need half of a gram. Whew. Amber Extreme is ambery. It's dry, woody. It's punchy. It is definitely punchy. I'll tell you what, a lot of these molecules are smelling very strong today. And I feel blessed because I have not been able to smell for at least a few weeks. I was getting over a sinus infection, did not have COVID somehow. I thought I had COVID because I couldn't smell anything. But got some antibiotics, did a lot of sleeping, and finally feeling better. But yeah, couldn't smell anything for a while. And then what I could smell didn't smell right to me. So I thought I would give smelling a break. Next up, we're going to do our Ambroxan. 10%, 1.4 grams. So, I mean, I've been feeling a downward spiral of getting into this cold or this sinus infection, whatever was going on. I was going into week 5 before I finally got some antibiotics. And instead of smelling and doing blending and testing, I've been doing other admin stuff with this brand launch, like getting labels figured out, which has been really fun. More packaging stuff, just trying to get some back-end things figured out. Okay, next up, Elemi from the Philippines. This is in my woody section, but it belongs with like juniper, with like conifer pine like notes. Not that it's piney, like there's a bunch of alpha pinene, but there's a terpenic quality to it. It's almost like it's got a hint of black pepper in here, but very, very terpenic. Okay, 0.4 grams at 10%. Let's go. Wonderful. Got it. Got it, got it, got it. Okay, next, Fix Amber. Fix Amber. This is good stuff. Made by Firmenich. Another woody amber. Another woody amber. I need to brush up on my Fix Amber. It's been a while since I've evaluated this one. and I really do not enjoy forgetting what something smells like. I like having this image in my head, an olfactive image, if you will. Whenever I add something to a blend, I like knowing what the ingredient smells like that I am adding. Otherwise, how could I possibly guess what effect that addition will have on the blend? You've got to have a frame of reference. Next up, Timberol. This is a Symrise product that is the same molecule as norlimbinol or karmawood, with the caveat that the isomeric ratio of whatever's in Timberol means that it's a bit softer than norlimbinol. It's a little bit less aggressive. Now I need 1 gram at 10% and we'll be good. Come on. Okay, we're there. We are there. And we are also 3 groups in. Let's blend, blend, blend. And we've got, what, 5 to go? Okay. When I dip, you dip, we dip. This is number 3. This is amber. I'm looking forward to smelling that one. Okay. Next, I usually go in the floral direction, but this time I want to start with green and aromatic notes because dihydromercenol is over 15% of the concentrate. We're going to use this neat, and we've got 1.2 grams. It is 16.5% of the concentrate. So, ooh, classic smell. Love this. This is definitely 90s, early 2000s men's fresh cologne smell. What's nice about this particular molecule is that it is also very effective in perfumes, men's softer fragrances, like the Oriental style fragrances where you've got lots of vanillas and spices and lots of rich stuff. It can add a little push, a little pop and liveliness where otherwise your fragrance just feels a little dead. Next up, fennel. I need to order this. I got a 1 gram sample from Eden Botanicals and I used it to fill up this bottle. That's it. So I cannot remake this. Well, I probably can. Ooh, yeah, definitely got that methyl chavicol. Is it methyl chavicol? That's in licorice, basil, fennel. I think that's the molecule. Okay. I need 1.4 grams at 10%. Definitely a licorice-like smell. If you don't have fennel, I think you'd be okay just using basil. If you have sweet basil. If you don't have basil, if you don't have either of those, just use, cut it in half, but maybe use methyl chavicol, otherwise known as estragol. That will get you the smell that's really in fennel, that you're getting from fennel. So don't sweat it. We have 3 more in our, hold on. Yeah, we got 3 more in the green category. I'm going to save the cis-3-hexanyl salicylate until later. We're going to put the amyl salicylate and cis-3-hexanyl salicylate together because it's a substantial bunch. But let's add the others right now. We can start with the cis-3-hexanyl acetate. We're doing this at 10%, 1/10 of a gram. Okay. The cis-3-hexanyl acetate is, would you believe it, a lot like cis-3-hexanol, but it's not as rich and like centered and round. When you smell phenyl ethyl alcohol, it's very deep, it's rich. It doesn't pop, it's not bright, but it has presence. And it, like in my nose, it's just this round body that just sits right in the center. Cis-3-hexanol is very similar. It's got a green grassy vibe, but it's the same smooth, round feeling in my nose. The cis-3-hexanol acetate diffuses some of that roundness and that fullness, and instead it just lifts it up, lightens it up, and makes it a little bit more green. Next up, let's do our triplau. This is a strong material. I've got it at 1%. We need half of a gram. I like this smell better at 1% than I do at 10%. At 10%, it smells too strong, at least coming out of the bottle. At 1%, it's nice. It's green, it's leafy, it's a little bit sweet. Okay. When it's at 10%, or even when it's neat, it smells like a little chemical. It smells a little overpowering. Next, finally, undecavertol, a nice cucumber-like note. Shares similarities with something like methylheptene carbonate, methyloctene carbonate, that key material that's in Fahrenheit, for example. I need half a gram at 10%. What it shares is just that transparent but strong green note. But there's definitely a cucumber effect with undecavertol. Okay, we are making great time. So let's blend with our pipette. Make sure it's nice and mixed up. There we go. All right. Let's dip. And we will put green and aromatic 4. Okay, next up, before we move to the florals, I want to add these salicylates. Salicylates, some of them can be in the floral category, like benzyl salicylate, amyl salicylate. Otherwise, like cis-3-hexanol salicylate, I put it in the green category. If we're talking about I think it's methyl salicylate. That's in like the minty category. It's very minty, but all of them have that salicylate vibe to it. So let's add these. Let's start. Let me find it. We'll start with the amyl salicylate. This is at 10%, but I need 0.8 grams. Okay. The way I liken salicylates is like coffee. You might have a dark roast, French roast, light roast. You may have hazelnut, chocolate, French vanilla. All the different coffee styles or coffee bean roasts and flavors. But when you drink it, you know you're drinking coffee. The coffee-ness of it is you can't miss it. And the salicylates are like that. You cannot miss the salicylate aspect. It comes in different flavors like green, cis-3-hexanol. You have a little balsamic like the benzyl salicylate. You have floral and floral green with the amyl salicylate. Now with the cis-3-hexanol salicylate, I've got 0.32 grams at 100%. It's over 4% of the concentrate. So let's get 0.32. and the salicylates work as wonderful blenders. But I will say, you need to choose them carefully. I once, more than once, made a formula that called for benzyl salicylate. Then I made it again with amyl salicylate. It did not work. Did not work. And there is not a huge difference between amyl salicylate and benzyl salicylate. But the way it interacted with the rest of the formula, no. I put it immediately. I put it in my throwaway jar. You know, it was much bigger. I immediately threw it away though. I knew that was not going to work. So occasionally, some materials just do not agree. And that's okay. But that's the amazing part of perfumery. I've made formulas where I've had to sub out and use different materials for 4 or 5 materials out of a 50-line formula. And it worked out beautifully. Worked out very well. Other times I've switched out one material. Maybe it was substantial in the formula, but I didn't think anything of it because it's such a similar molecule, and nope. No. Okay. Salicylate number 5. We are good. Tell me I dipped it. Good. We have 3 more. We are going to start with our florals and spices. And this is a varied bunch. I've even got kind of a fruity material in here, but this is a varied bunch. What we're going to start with is citronellol, classic, basic rose building block. It's a little metallic. It's warm. It's rich. It's rosy. It's got some zing to it. It's got a brightness. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. We need 1 gram at 10%. Good. Good. Okay. Next up, now that we have our core floral note, rosy note, we're going to beef it up with a little complexity. A little geranium and a little rose. Let's do our geranium. I'm using Egyptian geranium at 10%. We're adding 1/5 of a gram. Yeah, it's already popping out. Now, geranium is different from rose in that it's a bit richer. It's almost like it's a bit sweeter and more green. If you ever get the opportunity to smell diphenyl oxide, super green, but you can smell it. Once you smell it, you'll be able to pick it out in your geranium. Diphenyl oxide must be in geranium. It's been a while since I've seen a GCMS of geranium, but it's got to be in there. But it's super green. Super green. Okay, next up, we're going to use real rose oil from Bulgaria. Another 1/5 of a gram. This rose oil has a terpenic top, which I appreciate goes away very quickly. And then it leads into a very honeyed note. Very honeyed note. Almost like a honey that's on the verge of fermenting. But then that goes away and you're left with a beautiful rose. Beautiful natural rose smell. Okay. And luckily that terpenic / fermented honey smell is covered up by whatever else we have in the blend. So that's nice. Believe me, that's nice. Next up, Iralia. This is just a mixture of methyl ionones. I'm not sure which ones, if it's methyl ionone gamma, methyl ionone beta, methyl ionone, but Iralia is just methyl ionones. Same thing with isoraldine. Isoraldine 70, isoraldine 95. They're just different mixtures of the various ionones. If someone knows differently, correct me. Please correct me. But I believe I've read that now in 3 different locations. But as always, I read it on the internet. So we have to take it with a huge grain of salt. But I believe one of those sources was Jamie Frater of Fraterworks. And for better or worse, I tend to trust what that man, what he writes. So, you gotta pick what you're gonna trust, right? Next up, let's do our methyl anthranilate. Now this was kind of the weird one. It's floral, sure, but it's really, really, really fruity. It's very grape soda-ish. I had a 5% concentration, and I'm going to do 0.08 grams. So that's only maybe 6 or 7 drops. Yeah. Next up, we've got 2 spices, cardamom and nutmeg. Let's start with our cardamom. We have 1/10 of a gram at 10% here. And I like cardamom. It's spicy, it's edgy, it's got a little bit of a waxiness to it. It's bright. It's wonderful. It adds spice without necessarily warming up your fragrance, without creating like a deep richness. It adds complexity and brightness and spiciness, but it's not like eugenol, where when you put eugenol, that's spicy, but it warms it up. All right, next up, nutmeg. Similar. It's a bit warmer than cardamom, but not so warm as clove or eugenol. 0.4 grams at 10%. Yeah, these smell wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. They add a lovely complexity and some color to colognes like this one, men's fragrances like this one. Okay. That's good enough, I think. Why not? Let's dip. We'll write spice on it. Number 6, and friends, we have 2 more. The 2 that we have, we're going to add a blender, filler, floralizer, Lilial and Hedione HC. Let's start with our Lilial. This will be at 100%. It is neat. I need 1/2 gram. Now, interestingly, Lilial is restricted by IFRA. Max 1.4% in the final product. However, the EU has banned Lilial in cosmetics. So even though IFRA hasn't banned it, the EU has banned it, which is silly, I think. I think IFRA, got to give the benefit of the doubt. IFRA does a good job, the best that they can, with advising on what chemicals are dangerous and keeping consumers safe. I think they do a good job. In any case, the EU has banned it. Not only has the EU banned it, but California has also banned it beginning 2027. And sometimes I wonder, I just read an interesting article. I cannot remember where. But with incoming Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy, it sounds like there might be a lot more things on the chopping block as far as cosmetics ingredients. The article was throwing around even BHT, which I pretty much scoffed at, and it made me think twice about the article, because BHT is very important. You don't put that in your fragrances. What are you going to use to keep people's skin from burning when that limonene oxidizes? In any case, remember, friends, don't believe anything you read and believe only half of what you see. It's a pretty good rule in life to keep your head on your shoulders. Most of what you read, you got to take it with a grain of salt. All right, Hedione HC. I'm using Hedione HC 50, and I need 0.4 grams. But I need to get this in here because as soon as I dip, all I'm going to smell is hedione. So I need to get this blended. And get it blended. Okay. Let's mix, 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 mix. Then we're going to dip, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to put hedione, but I'm going to remember that we also put Lilial in this. So let's put hedione 7. Also, I need to clean up my desk over here. I can see some splash marks that I did not clean up. I just filled up a whole bunch of jugs with concentrate and ethanol to start the maceration process. Looks like I've got a little splashing on my desk that I need to take care of. Okay, friends, last, not least, 4 more materials: bergamot, lemon, and our aldehydes. Let's start with our aldehydes. We're going to start with aldehyde C12, lauric, otherwise known as dodecanol. This is at 1%, and we need 1/5 of a gram. This, given time, I'm sure it will react with the methylanthranilate. Okay, next. Aldehyde, C12MNA, also at 1%, but this time we need 0.3 grams. This one is just much dirtier than dodecanol. One more drop. There we go. Okay. Let's do our bergamot. I've got both bergamot and lemon at 50%. I hate getting this stuff out of the fridge, worrying about condensation on the inside of the bottle, then getting water in the material. Don't like that. So, but I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through all of it. So I keep it in the fridge. But to help with that, to help with me not taking it out, every week, I just made a 50% dilution with a little BHT in it. That helps with the shelf life outside of the fridge. Come on, 1.8 grams at 50%. We are there. Love bergamot. Love bergamot. It's too bad it doesn't last very long. Last, lemon. Lemon 50, my own dilution. All right. Oh yeah, clean, bright, yummy. 0.4 grams at 50%. Look at that go. Perfect. Oh, it looks like I threw away my stir stick. That's okay. Put in that lemon one. We'll be good. Okay. Get a pipette ready. Or no, scent strip. Let's get a scent strip ready. Let's give us a little stir, a little swish. I'm going to leave this in here, actually. We'll dip. And then we will write citrus and aldehyde. And this is our last one. This is number 8. Okay. And while we are waiting, I am going to put a couple drops on my hand. Now remember, this is 10%, a 10% dilution, a 10% concentrate. Okay, let's go. We start with the woods and the vanilla. A lot of vetiveryl acetate. Our sandalwoods, plenty of isoe super. I'm expecting something easy, easy peasy. Vanilla is there. This is actually very nice. Wow, I'm very surprised. It's sweet. It's woody. but it's lively. It's got pop. Maybe it's the vetiveryl acetate. Oftentimes you put in all the wood notes, the sandalwood, I'm like rolling my eyes, the vanilla. It's so heavy. It doesn't pop off the strip. It might smell rich, but it smells so dense. This does not smell dense. This smells very good. This is a great starting point. Let's see what happens when we add the musks. We added the cashmeran. Does that help with the pop? Because all the other musks, I would imagine, help pull it down. Indolcolor is there. I can smell the indolcolor. That indolic, mothball note. But it's, oh my gosh, I'm so surprised at how wonderful this base is starting. Yeah, I'm still getting that woody, sweet base from the first strip, but now we've got more support with all the musks around it. I can't say I'm really picking up the cashmeran, oddly enough. Maybe if I let my nose stew a little bit more, I could, but interesting. Next up, we added all of the amber notes, the ambroxan, the amber extreme, the timberol, the elemi. Dries it out, definitely dries it out and gives it an amber push. Still, so far, I really like this. Really like where we're headed. And we're not even to the fun part yet. Yeah, this is lovely. It's warm, it's ambery, and it's dry. Still, the indolcolor, that indolic off note, is hiding underneath, which is cool to smell. Next up, we added all of that dihydromercenol, the cis-3 hexanyl acetate, the triplyl undecaveritol, and the phenyl, which contains the methyl chavicol. Very interesting, very interesting. So the dihydromercenol is clearly there. It's present, but it's surrounded with complexity from the other green aromatic notes. The phenyl is adding this herbal warmth, this licoricey warmth that is so subtle, but it's really complementing the dihydromercenol. Wow. Very cool. Next up, salicylates, amyl salicylate, and a lot of cis-3 hexanyl salicylate. Okay, very salicylate-y. Now it's possible that by this point, my nose is starting to not smell all the materials underneath because I keep smelling them on the strips. So every new addition is just very apparent to me. It's entirely possible, but again, it's still a nice blend. Now, when you add all the salicylates to what we have before, if you add all the salicylates to what we've included previous, this is a very solar, beachy fragrance. Salicylates can do that. Like you get on the beach, you've got sunscreen on, the sea breeze is coming in, it's very warm out. Wow, still pretty darn good. Next up, we added the floral notes and the spices. Let me see if I can reset my nose. Let's see what we got. Oh, lovely. Just a little floral color. And it's pretty generic. Oddly enough, we added all that citronellol. The core pieces were citronellol and the Aralia, right? The methyl ionone. We added a little rose and geranium for complexity. We added the methyl anthranilate. It might be adding a little fruity brightness to this. But interesting. Interesting. Next, hedione and lilial. Wow. Wow. This changes it. Absolutely changes it. It lightens it up, opens it up, brightens it up. It floralizes it with a lily of the valley jasmine vibe. It really opens. Wow. This is one of those moments where here we have a fragrance. Here, with the addition of Hedione and Lilial, we have a fine fragrance. We have an eau de parfum, an eau de toilette, like whatever it is. Occasionally, I will smell formulas, and just with the addition of a few things along the sequence of smelling the strips, it changes. It becomes something really elegant. And I'd say right now, that's the point we got to. Elegant. Finally, we added bergamot, lemon, aldehyde C12, and aldehyde C12MNA. Oh, okay. First of all, top notes are there. Bergamot, lemon, very there. I'm getting the aldehyde MNA. That dirty, waxy, aldehydic note is there. Okay. Reset the nose. Let's see if I can smell what's on the hand. Okay. So far, so good. There is a dirtiness to it. Again, that's the aldehyde C12 MNA that I'm picking up. But it's green, it's floral. The green notes and the floral notes are mixing well together. And it's on top of this wonderful base. I can't complain. I cannot complain. What I'm going to do now is bottle this. And I'm going to put it into 2 bottles. I will put, I'll slap a label on it. And again, put a comment somewhere. There's only one place you can put the comment, right? Put the comment under the video. And I'll check back in a week and a half, and just do a random selection. And I'll reach out to you. Just a heads up, if I reach out to you and a couple days goes by, a few days goes by, I'll pick another name, all right? So if I reach out to you, try to get back to me with your contact info, and I'll send you 50 mils of whatever this is. That said, we're going to want to wait a month before you really judge it, and then give it a couple more months before you really judge it, because it'll change over time. So I guess that's part of the excitement of this process, is smelling how it evolves. In any case, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.